Alright, hello once again, this is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD1111 class for the fall 2020 semester at Rankin Technical College, I've been going through a series of video presentations based on the textbook for the class, that book being Get Programming with Node.js by Jonathan Wexler, a Manning publication. But first I've decided to kind of take a detour and go over some of the things on the recommended reading list. Alright, so far I've done the mean versus MERN, and now I'm going to get into this, although it's got several lessons in it. We're just going to do some beginning ones on the introduction to Node. And I think when I get done, I might even go in and do this. Alright, and I'm not going to do, I can do the MySQL and the MongoDB when we get to section 3. Lodash is later in the book. Handlebars and Mustache, I believe, is later in the book also. Express is in the next, it will be in Unit 2. So we'll go over those as we get to that point. Okay? But that said, let's look at Nodejs.dev. And if you look over here, I was going to do this, and then I wasn't, then I was, but let's see. Quick start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons. Getting started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. So it looks, unless I've miscounted, like there's 52 lessons in here. I don't have the time, I don't have the desire to be going through those right now. Okay? But let's just take it from the top here. So here's our introduction. Okay. Whoops. Well, that was interesting. Okay. I think I can go back to where I was. Oh, we'll do it from here. That's no problem. So let's make this a little bigger. As it says, Node.js is open source. It's cross-platform, meaning you should be able to create your JavaScript application on whether it's Windows, Mac, a Linux box, whatever it is. As it says, it's becoming a popular tool for virtually any kind of project. Remember, we talked about this before. It runs the V8 JavaScript engine. So it runs the core engine that makes Google Chrome do what it does. But it does this outside of the browser. Alright? A Node.js app is run in a single process. Now, I look at it more that it's single threaded, that there's a single thread. It says without creating a new thread for every request. Node.js provides a set of asynchronous, so remember that allows it to do multiple things at the same time. Alright? Now it's very fast for input-output primitives. It's not a language that's set up to do things that are very CPU intensive. Alright. The library, as it says, the I/O primitives in the library prevent it from being blocking. So that's why you can do multiple things at the same time. Alright? Alright. Generally, libraries, as it says, are written using non-blocking paradigms, making blocking behavior the exception rather than the norm. Alright. When Node.js needs to perform an operation, as it says, doing things like reading from a network, etc., rather than blocking the thread, where you're saying, rather than running it synchronously, where you're basically saying, I'm going to do this operation, you can't do anything else until I'm done. Alright? Node basically does it kind of, for lack of better words, in the background. And as it says, it resumes the operation when the response comes back. This allows Node to handle up, literally thousands of different things at the same time with a single server. All right. Now that doesn't mean that there are never other threads that are created, but basically what happens is anything that's CPU intensive, Node, for lack of better words, hands off to the computer itself. All right. Node, as it says, has a unique advantage because millions of front-end developers are now able to write server-side code in addition to the client-side code they've already done in JavaScript, meaning they don't have to learn a completely new language. All right. Node also supports the new ECMA standards, typically known as ES5 or really ES6, although there's been some since then. All right. As it says, and you don't have to wait until your users update their browsers. It has a library in it. That's the NPM, or the Node Package Manager. All right. As it says, it now houses over 1 million source code packages that you can bring in to your application and use. So here's an example of a Node.js application. Now, one thing, what we're doing here, what are we doing? Well, notice we're setting up 1, 2, 3, 4 constants here. All right. The first one is we're basically saying we want to require the HTTP module. The HTTP module is one of the things that is included, one of the packages that's included in the NPM or Node Package Manager. It's convention that since we're using HTTP, we give it a variable that we call the same name as the package, HTTP. It's a constant because we have absolutely no desire to reset that. Hostname, this is our server, 127.0.0 or .0, whatever you want to call it. .1 is your host machine. All right, and here we're just basically going to be setting up, and I think the way this one works is we're going to let the system figure out which port to use. All right, then we come in here, and you'll notice we're setting up a server. We're using, from that HTTP module, we're using the create server. All right, we're setting it equal to a variable name server. All right, and we'll have a request and a response. So the request basically is you putting something into the address bar or clicking a URL or whatever, and as you can see, the response is going to be over here. Now, what we want to do right here when we create this, when it's basically, is we want this callback function. Now, it used to be you wrote the word function here. You don't have to do that anymore. Instead, you use what's called the arrow syntax, which is an equal sign followed by a greater than sign. All right. To say that the status code is 200, what we're saying there is everything's okay. Everything has worked. Okay. We're setting our header. We're saying it's going to use plain text. And basically, when we're done, it should show hello world up on the screen. All right. Plus server.listen. It's going to listen, as it says here, to whatever port it has, and would already have that set up here and the host name that's set up there. And it should tell us what port it's running on. So let's try this. I'm not a big proponent of just copying this stuff in, but I'm going to do it anyway. So let's see. C-L-E-A-R, and there we go. Now let's get into Node, and let's just paste that stuff in. Alright, so this was it here, type help, yeah. There was our HTTP line. We get these undefineds back because by default it's trying to return something and there's nothing to return. We're setting up our host name. All right, we're grabbing a port. We're creating the server. We're telling it to log hello world when it's done. All right, we're listening, and this is the stuff basically that it's got there. All right, for us to take a look at. Now, remixed added hello world. We didn't get the hello world. So let's go back and take one more look. It's giving us a boatload of information here. Well, let's look what they say. The code first includes the HTTP module, which you can see again right there. All right. Node has a great library, including support for networking. The create server creates a new HTTP server right there and returns it. As it says, the server is set to listen on the specified port and host name. When the server is ready, the callback function is called. All right. In this case, it tells us that the server is running right here. Whenever a new request is received, the request object is called. Remember that HTTP is a series of requests and responses. The request that typically comes in from the client side and the response that's given from the server side. They say there that status code 200 says we set the status code to indicate a successful response. All right, we set the content type. Now, back in the olden days, like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, that when you were writing code, for example, when you were in your script tag for JavaScript, you would say basically the type equals text/JS, and for CSS, you would say the type equals text/CSS. Sometimes when you see older versions of .js or .css files, that's still done anyway. And some people still do it just because they've been doing it forever. All right. So, as it says here, Node.js is a low-level platform. It's more concerned, I look at it where JavaScript that we've been doing is more software, where this is more hardware. That's not really correct, but I'm telling you how I'm looking at it. All right. So it says here some of the libraries. All right, you can see them listed right here. Let's just grab a couple of them. Express, because we're going to talk about that in here. It provides one of the most simple yet powerful ways to create a web server. Its minimalist approach, unopinionated, focused on the core features of a server is key to its success. And Socket.io, a real-time communication engine to build network applications. Now, I don't want to spend much time on this, but very quickly, the brief history. Why is it letting me go over that? Well, okay, we'll just stop it right here, and I'll come back and talk about a brief history of Node.js in a little bit.